Hello, welcome to another Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Narrative Gundam B-Packs, which I'm just going to call it the B-Pack. And yeah, this is a new 4-star unit at 650. And a lot of people were questioning, this is our first, well, I say first, this is, the introduction of the Narrative Gundam into the game. And a lot of people are questioning whether this is good or not. And yeah, it's a little bit weird, having played it first, I was kind of like, I'm not really digging this. But after watching a few people play it, and then, trying to do better with it, I did eventually get some better matches. And yeah, I can say this suit is good and even possibly great in some areas. But yeah, we'll get into it here in a second. First of all, I got two matches here for you. This first match is going to be a rating ground battle at 650, and obviously it's City Ruins. And the next match is going to be a space match in Space Fortress Interior. That's going to be a quick match, though. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the stats. I did mention this is a 4-star unit and a 650 suit as well. And for stats, you have 19,500 health with 8 ballistic resistance, 30, it's funny, that used to be 12, 30 beam resistance, and 30 melee resistance as well, 33 range strength, 32 melee strength, 135 movement speed with 215 boost speed. You have 75 thruster gauge and 72 turning speed. And for slots, you have 19 close, 22 mid, and 7 long range slots. Now, obviously, the big thing here is 8 ballistic resistance. I would say it's a little bit of a small issue because of, obviously at the higher cost, ballistic isn't focused as much. But honestly, we've kind of been getting some ballistic suits recently, like, the Gustav Karl and this suit using the Jag and D type bazooka. And there are some pretty mean suits that use ballistics, like the Char de J with the Sturmfaust combo, which is pretty devastating. So I've seen some people already just boosting this up as well to kind of get all their defenses around that 30 area, which is fine. And then they kind of just boosted their attacks, like their range and their melee, right? I've seen some thruster gauge builds as well, because obviously you do have, well, I say obviously, we're gonna get to the skills at the very end that will discuss some of the skills that this thing has that will help it when it's boosting, right? So you can do that. For me, I think not in these two matches, but I did have a tanky build where I went with 45 beam resistance and 40 something melee resistance. And I believe the builds I'm actually using here, I still went with the 45 beam resistance, and I actually gave myself like 60 something melee strength. And I think a little bit of range strength, but not too much. And I think a little bit of thruster gauge as well. Oh, and I think Saikamu system as well. I can't remember the name of that part off the top of my head, but it helps you lock on faster, right? And I think you even take less damage. But yeah, so there's obviously a few builds you can do, just because the beam resistance, the melee resistance, and the range and melee strength are around 30, so it's kind of balanced, right? So you can kind of build your own way. But of course, you don't want to do too much for range, because you only have 7 long range slots, so keep that in mind. But yeah, let's get on to the weapons now. Starting with the primary weapons, you have the Jagan D-type bazooka, which pretty much just the Hikushiki beam rifle at this point. Everybody's got it now, and it keeps on returning. And yeah, it has 2,300 damage with 5 rounds and 300 range. And yeah, it's a bazooka stun. Now it does have a smaller blast radius than the other bazookas, so you have to keep that in mind. You're not going to get as easy as a stun with it, but when you do hit, it does do some pretty good damage. It's a pretty decent damaging ballistic weapon. And there's some suits at this cost, or some people that don't focus their defenses in ballistic, and when you're fighting another narrative Gundam that has 8 ballistic resistance, yeah, you'll be doing like what, 3,000, something like that. Well, not maybe depending on your range strength, but yeah, at least a good chunk of damage against those people with low ballistics. But yeah, pretty basic stunning weapon. Just make sure you're hitting your target, or at least getting close enough to where it'll hit. Next weapon, your primary melee weapon, you have the Narrative Gundam Beam Saber, which is 2,600 damage. And yeah, you can do some pretty good damage output out of this if you work for melee. As you can see throughout these two matches, I believe, yeah, 60 something melee strength, and you can do consistent over 4,000 damage downswings, and depending on the melee resistance of the suit you're fighting, That can almost go to 5,000. So yeah, pretty nice. The downswing is a thrusting downswing, but I believe it's more similar to I think the Gabera Tetra, from what I remember seeing other people discuss it as. So yeah, probably the Gabera Tetra. And yeah, I mean, it's a thrusting downswing, so you can catch people off guard with the range of it. Or, you know, if you got a stun and you're not going to make it by, you know, boosting up or walking towards them, you want them to do the dodge roll, right? Then you can go ahead and use that as well as a way to hit somebody. So yeah, pretty nice. And now we're on to the secondary weapons. Starting off, you have the 60mm Vulcan gun ×2, which is 110 damage with 60 rounds and 250 range. And yeah, they're Vulcans, and they're pretty good Vulcans. You know, they have a decent fire rate. They do some good damage, and they actually have a pretty high stun accumulation added to it as well, where or you know, helping with stun accumulation, the stagger rate, right? Where instead of taking 30 hits to stun, it does take a little bit less than 30. I want to say 20 something. To be safe, I guess I'll say 25, right? To get a stun. But of course, you don't want to use that by itself because, you know, you're firing Vulcans at somebody. You can boost while using, you know, but yeah, obviously you want to combine that with your other weapons that you have that are good at stun accumulations, like your incoms, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, you can also use them as typical Vulcan stuff, like, you know, going after a pilot, taking out the pilot. It's pretty easy at doing that as well. So yeah, pretty nice Vulcans, you know, and they do have a good amount of range to them, 250 range. Good for you know, obviously if you finishing off somebody from a distance, right? You don't want to waste any of your other weapons or your ammo, right? Next weapon is the 4-tube missile launcher ×2 incendiary, which is 500 damage, 8 rounds, and 250 range. And yeah, these are pretty good combo weapons. Pretty good at getting stun locks. Readies up pretty fast as well. It shoots 2 at a time, and thing is, each missile, unlike other incendiary rounds that other suits have, like the Zusa, where it doesn't stun, has really kind of low stagger accumulation. This suit, each missile stuns instantly, which is pretty good, and you can actually cancel after firing the first missile, so you can pretty much just shoot 1 at a time, right? That can potentially give you 8 different instant stuns if you can aim it well, of course. It does have a small blast radius, like, you're pretty much going to be aiming dead on with it, right? And, you know, of course, since it's an incendiary round, it does do damage over time. It does, I believe, 8 or 9 ticks of damage, and it does 150 damage per tick, so that would be a little bit over 1,000 damage, right? So obviously you can use that to slowly weaken somebody, add to your damage when you're comboing them. You do have your incoms, which can, you know, build up damage, right? Combine that with this, yeah, you can get some pretty good damage out of that. And like I said, it does stun every missile, so you can use that. A good setup weapon, right, where you can hit somebody with that and then use something else. And then, you know, you can try to throw in your Jagan bazooka for a stun lock, right? But hey, timeout. We'll see what we got going on here with our first match. Not our first match playing this, but first match of the video. Mission completed, and let's see. And hey, top individual score, nice. Going to be praising support and a raid. And hey, first place, 6-2. Wasn't expecting first place. You know, I was doing, before these 2 matches, I was doing quite awful. And like I said, I watched a few people playing it, and I kind of figured out, like, okay, so I need to do kind of like this before. Like, I was trying way too hard at trying to use the jammer initially, but yeah, honestly, yeah, you can approach pretty well using some of your other weapons as well. But yeah, on to your next weapon though. The missile launcher is pretty good. But yeah, next weapon is the Wired Assault Unit ×2 Pincer, which is 500 damage with a 50% heat rate and 200 range. And yep, they're your funnels. They do have a pretty high stagger rate, where pretty much if somebody is getting hit by all the funnels, they will get stunned or close to getting stunned, and you can easily just pop off your Vulcans and get a stun with these funnels. It's a really easy approach, right? One of the best things it has here, and you can boost while using the funnels as well. So you can lock on and send them out while you're boosting, which makes it even better to combine with your Vulcans to get a quick stun. And like I said, you can start that off with your initial stun, then go straight into your, because of the fast ready up of your fire missiles. Just shoot those, get a stun lock, and then go on from there, right? So pretty nice. They do some good damage, as we see here. 500 damage per shot. You are shooting 2 at a time. That builds up quite well. And you combine that with incendiary rounds and your melee. It can do some pretty good stuff. So yeah, pretty nice. However, they are very close range. Look, 200 range. So very, very melee-oriented funnels. Thankfully, you can boost while using them, so you're not stuck just trying to zoom in on somebody or lock onto somebody while they're trying to fight you at 650, because there's a lot of suits that can instantly stun you at 650, right? So yeah, pretty nice. Just be careful about the range. Now onto the final weapon here. You have the Wired Assault Unit ×2 Jammer, which is 0 damage, 100% heat rate, and 350 range. And yeah, you can lock on from pretty far with it, and it will send out a kind of a wide diamond-shaped field. And if somebody walks into that field, first of all, their thruster consumption will be nearly full the instant they touch that, which will be I think somebody said like 70% of the thruster gauge gets filled up, right? And not only that, your turning speed, your movement speed, and your melee attack speed will also significantly slow down. Enough to where it's like noticeable as you walk into it. And even when the Psycho Jam goes away, you're still kind of affected for a little while. The skill does say that if you walk into it, or it gets rid of some things. And a lot of people initially thought that meant it would be like the NTD mode for the unicorns. But as we saw if you guys haven't seen my testing video for that, for this suit, we figured out that, yeah, it does not stop NTD mode. And I'm guessing it probably might not stop the Saikamu skills that some suits have, like when they reach low health. If it does, then let me know. I haven't really got a chance to really try that out, because unfortunately a lot of the Saikamu skills happen when somebody's like really low on health, and more than likely they're going to die before I even get a chance to use the Saikamu on them, or I don't even really notice what happens if I manage to hit them, yeah, it is a slow to ready up though, because of course you have to lock on, and then the jammers have to spread out and work, right? It almost reminds me of the Dag Dolls Dag Leaders, where it's definitely more of a setup weapon. You can't just throw them out unless the enemy's just sitting still and just kind of opening themselves up to be attacked like that. And obviously you can kind of use this to lock off certain areas from people passing it, because of course if they pass it, well, they're not going to have any more boost gauge. As we mentioned, just stepping into it nearly depletes your boost gauge. If you're staying that even longer, you'll have no boost gauge to defend yourself, with tackles or dodge rolls. So yeah, the jammers, if they manage to hit, they will do wonders. Where, yeah, okay, you just wasted. you don't have a way to defend yourself unless you're going to shoot me afterwards. So you opened up the enemy for a free stun. You basically turn them into a support, where you can get a free combo on them, I should say, as long as they don't shoot you first and all that jazz, right? And I think if I remember correctly, the jammer might make your thruster overheat higher as well, so you have to wait longer to get overheat. But I'm not too sure on that one. But yeah, I think it might help with a little bit of stun accumulation. I think from what I witnessed, it felt like there's some moments where it was helping get stuns with it if somebody was in it while they're getting shot at. But I'm still gonna say, probably not. You probably don't use it to get a stun. I'm just gonna say that you might as well use your regular funnels and your Vulcans and your actual stuns, right? You might want to use just use the jammer for its intended purpose to halt mobility, right, and lock off pushes. Unfortunately, though, because of how the setup is for the jammers, if somebody's rushing towards you, you cannot punish that person. So if a raid is just, doing the raid thing, running at you with their heavy attack, charged up, right? You can't punish them because they'll go right past your jammer before it even starts up, right? So unfortunate, but probably could make that a little bit faster, or maybe make it like the dag leaders where you can just point somewhere and use it. That way you can kind of set up initially. That way you can kind of trap people, right? I think actually that's a way better idea for the jammers, is to actually point and tap where you want it to be, instead of having to be lock on, because that it allows it to where you can actually again trap people with it. But if it manages to work, it does do really good. So alright, now we're on to the skills. You have Shock Absorber. I really hate saying those two words together. Shock Absorber level 2. You got a double dodge roll. You have Blast Stabilizer, so mobile suit explosions don't affect you. You have Flight Control level 3, so you can do some boosts and jumps while in the air. You have Balancers. You have Ambac level 2. Maneuver Armor, which you can tank instant stuns while you're boosting. However, stun accumulations will work on you. You have Force Injectors level 2, so you can boost back and forth more efficiently. You have Melee Combo Controller, so that's 2 melee swings. You have Radar level 2, Back Buffer level 2, which I believe is 15%. Of course, where your back is. The big giant shoulders there. You have Arms Equipment Buffer level 3. I think that one might be 30%. You have to go check back on that. And obviously that's where your shields are on your arm. I kind of wish they're just regular shields instead of buffers. That way you can kind of make the suit a little bit more better at kind of like frontlining. But obviously, I think they're going more for like a setup kind of thing with this. So maybe they don't want to give you shields like that, right? But hey, we're at the end of this match now. Before we finish off the rest of these skills here, let's see what we got in space. Again, this was a quick match, not a rating match. And yeah, good works all around. And let us see what we got. Mission completed. And here's a Cubilate. Oh, it's a Mark II Cubilate. My bad. Hey, top individual with 5,000. Nice. And I believe we got another first place. Yeah, first place, 5 and 2. And some good pursuit assist, 20,000. And almost 1,000 assist score. So yeah, around the same as the last match. Yeah, back to these skills. You do have the special field, which is basically just the jammer ability, that or the jammer weapon, the wired assault unit times 2 jammer. That basically just what that is. Where you'll stop somebody, mobility, you'll make their thruster gauge go up, all that good stuff I had mentioned in the jammer, right? And then you have counter program level 2, which is instead of like the new Gundam, the Sazabi, where it's like what I believe at the 25, when you're at 25% of your health, you get a special counter that does more damage. This suit actually activates it at 50% health, which I think should be kind of the standard for the new and the Sazabi and the other 4 stars. But I guess they found it so OP that they had to make it at 25%, and then this one's like, fuck it, whatever, 50%. Kind of wish it was like, okay, I feel like all the suits should probably get like 50% at half health, right? But yeah, that's it for the Narrative Gundam B pack, and yeah, playing it does the job. That's pretty much it. All right, let's get into the pros and cons, though, to actually discuss it. Starting off with the pros, you do have some decent weapons. The fire missiles are actually really good. You fire 2 of those at a time, or you could optionally shoot 1 if you can aim well enough. You can get 8 stuns out of that. They're really good after following up from a stun because they ready up fast. You saw during that space match, you can throw in some melees and follow up immediately with a stun. I think if you're shooting 1 at a time, you can shoot 1, do some melee, and then instantly it's bam, it's ready to go again to shoot another one. That can potentially juggle someone, which is pretty good. I think I saw that from Sync Wavy's channel. I'll have to leave a description to his channel in the description. Leave a description to his channel. No, leave a link to his video, right? Or his channel. You guys can see that for yourselves. A lot of better player, lot better player. Man, really fuck up my English. Better player than I am. Another upside for this is the jammer. The jammer, when it does hit, is pretty good at just halting somebody. Where, you know, if you don't have thrust gauge, you're kind of just a sitting duck. Like I said, you're basically a support where you can't dodge roll, you can't use your maneuver armor, you can't anything that's related to you moving out of the way. It doesn't work, and that allows you to just have free follow-ups on that person. And if you have a team about to mollywop them, they have nowhere to go. And even if they do, even if they do move out of the way, like they only have, if they get hit with the initial jam, like the initial tick of the jam, it's almost full. It's almost full. Your thruster gauge is almost overheated. So even if you boost or do a dodge roll, you have no boost left. They already played the hand, right? You already fell into the trap. So that's a pretty good option to have, where you can just force somebody. You can force an option out of somebody. It's your trump card, almost, right? Where okay, you're gonna get hit by this, or you're gonna move out of the way, which is, you know, okay, I can't do anything about that. But if you do get hit by it, I'm pretty much in a winning position where, okay, you got hit, you have little to no boost gauge to work with, so I'm gonna shoot you, and you're gonna have to dodge roll or something, or else you're gonna start taking damage from a combo. So yeah, pretty good. Some other upsides, the melee is pretty nice as well. You can get some good damage, and, you know, thrusting downswing as well. The funnels, the stun accumulation, I should say, is really good on this as well. The funnels into the Vulcans, really nice. That can initiate a stun lock using that, and then straight into your fire missiles, or, you know, to your Jake and D type bazooka. Pretty nice. And the funnels don't overheat after one use, which is quite nice. Yeah, so for pretty good positives and negatives, it's going to be a little bit hard to explain. I think I said before we did the positives and negatives, the suit it does the job. It's fine. It's okay. In terms of the other 400 suits, I feel like this is more like a 3-star suit. I think what elevates this to a 4-star unit is the jamming ability. Because, I mean, you have some pretty nice weapons and stun accumulation. But if you're looking at 650, there are a lot of suits that have easier ways to just get somebody to get stunned. Or, you know, they have a really easy stun lock combo, like the Rebawu, and they can do really insane damage potential with their melee as well, like, again, the Rebawu or some other suit at 650. This suit seems like it's the way I've witnessed other people playing it is something akin to an aggressive supporting general, where they'll send out the jammer. You know, of course, if somebody gets hit, they go in for the combos and all that good stuff. They try to get a stun on somebody, and they use the funnels, and then start, you know, trying to wail on them with everything else, right? It's just a little bit more long-winded compared to other 650 suits. I mean, to still get the job done, like, I don't think this is a bad suit at all. I think this is actually it can be pretty great at times. It seems like it depends on you hitting your jamming often, right? Which, if you're fighting a team that's constantly moving, or they're aware of what you're trying to do, can be a little bit hard. And I can see the suit even struggling in some areas against some of the 650 suits. Again, not to say the suit is bad. I think it's a pretty good suit. It does have damage potential. The damage potential is actually quite high if you manage to hit that jammer a lot, where you're just opening up people. You're opening up people for your team. It does have some good stun locks and just damage over time with the funnels and the fire and all that. So yeah, I it's funny because it sounds more like I'm giving more positives for it, but I really, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit confusing. I can't really articulate how this suit is compared to other suits. So hopefully you can kind of get an idea out of it. So for recommendations, if you don't have a 4-star unit, then I think this is a fine suit to use. It is a close range, more of a close range oriented suit. It does, have some range combos, but obviously the meat and the potatoes of this is going to be trying to use your jam and then getting in for pretty good combos, right? And, good stun locks. You can follow up from your stun locks with good melee attacks. So, yeah. If you want another 4-star, if you don't have a 4-star, this is a pretty nice one to start off with. But I think most people are probably going to go for whatever's coming at Christmas or New Year's, if those even are going to be 4 stars, right? But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And type up in the comment section how you feel about the narrative Gundam B pack. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And I'm not going to say I necessarily like it. Again, I was kind of struggling at first playing the suit, and then I kind of, I figured it out, right? And started doing really well with it. But gameplay-wise, it's not my kind of suit. I can see a lot of people playing this and doing really well with it. And if you like those kind of setup suits, then yeah, you can probably enjoy this as well. Like, if you want to have a Dagdoll that doesn't get bullied at its cost, then well, something similar, Again, it's like a supporting general almost, like a really aggressive supporting general, and it can do the job quite well, and it can be great at times, right? For me, I'll probably stick to some other 650 suits. I've been having a lot of fun picking the Gustav Karl and just surviving everything at that cost. So I think I'll continue using that, so I don't get blown the fuck out of a match the first 10 seconds. So. But, yeah, let me know how you guys feel about it, and, yeah, that'll be it, and I will see you guys later. Bye. Long enough.
Took you long enough.
Power of the Chidori surges through the claw.
My Chidori is strong. I don't know what the fuck that's. Is that from Naruto? I don't know.
Did you say like a redneck?
My Chidori. Is that Naruto or what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that Yu Yu Hakusho? Yu Yu Hakubatui?